Welcome back to TIDES. I'm Shveta Malhan, and today I'm joined by Vanessa Gutierrez, founder of the AI for HR community and a fractional HR leader. Vanessa's story is about courage, moving from job hunting to building a community where HR pros can experiment with AI, share knowledge, and reinvent how we work. So, if you've ever wondered how to start small, test ideas, and take control of your future in this AI driven world, you'll want to hear this one. Vanessa, welcome to Tides.
Thank you so much. So happy to be here and talk about my journey.
I'm looking forward to unpacking that with you. So, maybe let's get started by sharing what inspired you to start AI for HR community.
Hey, that's a long story, but I'll keep it short. For nearly the past 20 years, I've worked in HR, and the last 10 has been specifically in HR operations. And that entails working and implementing HR technology, integrating HR technologies, and automating. So, my background is HR tech, which I love tremendously. Since AI has now surfaced to the top and made a lot of technology more accessible for us to do things we've always wanted to do, I started building, I guess, in private, doing some workflows and some automations and GPTs and even vibe coding and creating my own HR applications. And that was fun, but I was just curious who else in the HR space, HR practitioners to be specific, are building and going through this. And that's when I put out a post on LinkedIn saying, wouldn't it be great if we had a community of HR practitioners to come together and learn how to use AI for HR? Because we have great AI communities and great HR communities, but where do they intersect? And I had so many people raise their hand. And today we are in our early access program where we have nearly or over 60 participants that are helping us ensure that the platform is built out specifically for HR practitioners to get the value in their AI journey.
Fantastic. Two points that you make that I really want us to dive into. One is definitely unpacking, like if we have to connect with the right relevant people, platforms like LinkedIn probably don't give us that opportunity. But the second one, where we can start our conversation, Vanessa, is the transition that happened. Like you mentioned, you have HR tech background. I'm assuming you were in full time roles with the organizations. Like, how easy or hard was that switch? Did you experiment along this journey so you could dabble in being an entrepreneur before you decided this is it, this is my way, my path going forward?
I think I've always had that entrepreneurial bug in me, starting businesses, since high school. Whatever I can do, I loved it. So you have that entrepreneurial bug, which I think is super important for anyone working in startups. Startups are very, very dynamic and you don't have all the resources there. So you have to be very flexible as you're building a startup and have that entrepreneurial bug in you. So that has always been there. And when the transition for HR technology, what's the best way to say this? HR technology doesn't always work for us. And what I mean, it does get us to a point where we're outside of Excel sheets.
Mhm.
Now we're in a system, but none of them from your, smaller ones to your larger enterprise ones, they're a headache. 100%. I don't think I know any HR practitioner that actually loves their HRES system or their whatever other system that they're using, whether it's a talent acquisition system or L&D, whatever it is. And so there's always been that frustration. And in my role in operations, I've always worked with the leaders in different HR functions to help them navigate the system and do what they need it to do. And sometimes, their integrations and their outputs on a certain cadence that I would help them get together. And not just for HR, maybe IT needs a report on a cadence. So helping those workflows happen. And because of that frustration is where I said, wow, look at what AI can help me achieve. I no longer have that barrier of an IT personnel saying, oh, we can't do that, or the engineering team doesn't have a resource to help you get going in Snowflake, so you could output your data to Tableau, or there's so many things that I've encountered that is just like, this seems so easy. Why can't we do it? There's just so many barriers in between getting that result. And with AI, it's like it's at your fingertips. I can make it happen.
Yeah, I totally hear you. Like first time when I experienced AI a couple of years ago, I'm like, wow, there is so much that we can do now. Now we can think differently about the workflow itself and then apply technology to make it happen. I don't know many HR teams who have dedicated HR technology sub teams or talent within their organization. So it's really hard for HR teams to constantly lean on IT. If you're talking about you being in the mix and it's still being hard, I can't even imagine when there's no translation happening between HR and IT, how HR's needs have been served in the past, right? Because IT and HR don't speak the same language. And yeah, there was one organization where I spoke to somebody who said, I'm implementing an LMS. I'm like, okay, which one are you implementing and how are you going about deciding? Because the world of LMSs have changed over the years. It's no longer SCORM, it's XAPI driven. You have LXPs in the mix. So there's a lot that you can think about. But no, we just went to IT and they just decided which LMS to go with. I'm like, how did that happen? I totally hear what you're saying. The tech world has changed dramatically, and we need that translation layer now more than ever because there's so much more we can do.
Yes, what you were talking about reminded me of a scenario that I was in, evaluating HRIS systems for an organization of nearly 500 employees in 17 different countries, and we were on 3 different systems. It was a it was a shit show. And in evaluating all the different systems, the CTO and founder said, "Oh, well, I want to try this newer HRIS system." And I already knew it wasn't it. Like, that is great if you have 50 employees, like, in one country. It is not going to do the job for where we are at. And it was to the point I had to get a CTO from another organization on the call with the CTO at my organization to explain why not to go with this smaller, newer system and why you have to migrate to it was more enterprise system that we were going to. And we're in 17 different countries. But HR needs to be in the mix. If not, there's going to be some detrimental decisions. I mean, you're going to get into implementing a system, and within 6 months, it's just going to be a hot mess. And then on top of that, they leave HR to the mess,
Hmm.
right? IT said, I selected, and then they go about and doing their thing. And we're the ones left with having to deal with all the inefficiencies of the system. So
Yeah.
we need to be involved.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we need to be involved. And I think both stakeholders need to play in this space differently. This is an opportunity to be more collaborative and come to the table with problem solving mindset versus, like traditionally HR also has gone to IT to say, just buy me this, and they don't oblige. Or IT buys you this, and to your point, it doesn't work. So, this is a very different interaction between tech teams and HR teams in organizations. But coming back to our conversation about entrepreneurship and entrepreneurial spirit, I feel like with AI in the mix, jobs are going to go away. There is no doubt about it. We are already seeing that. And I feel like more and more people will have to think about employment differently, like either fractional roles or being entrepreneurs. And I think, like, of that person who spent 20 years in a corporate environment, how hard that shift is going to be for them to now suddenly start thinking like an entrepreneur. I would love to get to know your perspective about what does entrepreneurship mean to you?
You had me thinking about lots of different things. And one of the things I want to hit on this before I go to that, it is easier for us because we have the experience. We know what we know what we don't know. We're experts in our area. for someone who's just early on in their career, and it has to be super challenging, like, "What do I do now?" And then if you wanna become an entrepreneur, like, you don't know all the intricacies of that line of work. We've been able to go through experiences and do this critical thinking of, like, we know we could call out bullshit, we know the questions to ask, we can think 10, 15, 20 steps ahead because we've done it. So like you and we have, I think, the confidence in going into an entrepreneurial journey because we know what we know and what we can offer. I think that's what's made it easier to go into the entrepreneurial journey. And we still have those moments where I'm not an entrepreneur. It's like, well, yes, you are. And you know what you know. And so go offer that. And I've had the help of several people that are continuously affirming that because I'm sure every entrepreneur goes through these things like, this isn't for me, it's for someone else. And then, the next hour you talk to someone else and you're like, you're right. I got this. Let's go. So that entrepreneurial journey is just really having faith in yourself and knowing that you're adding value to someone else's life or business.
Yeah, yeah. And then be ready to deal with the unknowns and the ups and downs that come with, to your point, the entrepreneurial journey. One day you might feel super uh, charged and passionate about your idea. And second day you might be thinking, am I really on the right path? But that is part of being an entrepreneur. You go through these moments of ups and downs, highs and lows. So building on this, then, if you zoom out and look at the HR profession in general, from your vantage point, which is a very entrepreneurial, very tech focused, what are you seeing that HR professionals are struggling with most right now? The ones who haven't taken the leap to be entrepreneurs, I would say.
I think what HR professionals are facing is the biggest one is employment. That's the biggest one. And next one is being able to adapt to emerging technologies. And it could be simply as not knowing where to start. That is a thing. And that's one of the reasons why I'm building the community is to start discovering, becoming curious in a safe space, asking simple questions. What is a prompt? Right? And, I think those are some of the top things right now.
And I think also adding to that, which is a really good points that you make, I feel like the journey and the genesis of HR as a capability in organization somehow hasn't set up HR very strongly for the future that they have to navigate. Like if I think about the past transformations that we embarked on, first being internet becoming a thing and then implementing large ERP solutions into the organizational ecosystem. I mean, many organizations have been and are still on that digital transformation journey. On prem to cloud migration, big switch, which impacted how we operated as business and how we did our work and our jobs. But I don't remember seeing many HR professionals tied to those changes that organizations went through. Maybe if there was a reorg involved, but not like day to day figuring out what is the anatomy of the process that we are thinking about rewiring or overhauling with, let's say, Oracle or SAP. I don't think HR was involved in those conversations. So it's kind of a steep learning curve for us in HR who haven't had lived experiences outside in the transformation areas to really truly understand what transformation means beyond thinking about it from a technology lens alone. There's so much that goes behind the scenes before you think about, okay, now let's point technology at solving that problem.
It's because the HR has always been that administrative role, right? They're there to help us, get those offer letters out and sign, you know, the offboarding documentation, and then some compliance, make sure that we're in compliance with any federal, state, or local laws. But with this, I think that's why. I think that's why we're left as an administrative view. I find this interesting. The opposite happens when I'm here to implement some sort of technology or process or system. I involve all the stakeholders, right? That's not just my IT or engineering team. I'm even pulling in legal. I'm pulling in finance, especially if I need to connect some NetSuite to, an HRIS platform. It is bringing everyone into this. Um, so yeah, now that you're saying that, I'm like, why doesn't it work both ways? It's not reciprocated both ways. It's just HR. When we're going to do something, we pull everyone in. Maybe that's just what HR, what we do. We're aware of the bigger picture and all the moving parts, all the stakeholders that come together, and we're always overlooked. But how do
Sure.
we change that? I believe the way we change that is to start building without asking for permission. And I'm a big proponent of that is your employers are going to say no, 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 but you have to. I mean, without, you know, putting any sensitive data or proprietary information, you need to start using it. If you're doing open enrollment, you need to go to your personal account and start talking about the enrollment process at your organization and how are we going to roll this out? Give me the timeline, give me the communications, all of that. You need to start using it. You can't ask for permission. And once they start seeing what we're doing and how we're doing it, I think that's where they're just like, you do
Yeah.
more than just administrative stuff. It's like, yes, and I always have, but in an inefficient manner.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. You make a really good point because the more we have lived and hands-on experience under our belt, not only we have examples to show how we are using technology in our workflows, but we also bridge that gap that we were talking about that HR and IT not speaking the same language. Because now once I've used ChatGPT or Perplexity or Grok, or even, like using AI embedded in tools like in Canva or whatnot, and doing my work differently, I have different vocabulary to express and explain how
Mm.
I use AI into my day-to-day workflow versus if I just took a course on fundamentals of large language models. It's going to only take me that far.
Yes, and that comes to mind is HR professionals updating their resume to include that terminology, that verbiage and what they're doing, and this was an aha moment for me as well. It's like, "Oh my gosh, I don't even have, like, ChatGPT listed on my resume." I was like, "What is going on here?" Let alone, have to talk about, like, what types of automations have you done and with what tools and describe all that, right? I think that's something that, we need HR practitioners who are out there looking for jobs to put that at the forefront. You'd completely need to revamp your resume. What worked last year is not working now.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So let's talk about jobs for HR people. Are you seeing more new jobs trending towards full-time roles, or are you seeing fractional HR roles growing faster than the full-time employment?
Well, I haven't really been looking for full-time employment for a few months, but I mean, I'm having people reach out to me for fractional work. So just by my experience, I have people find me on LinkedIn and I have people find me on ChatGPT for fractional work. So I guess if we're looking at just my case study, I would say people are leaning towards fractional, especially with AI out there. They want people who know how to implement it to make their work more efficient. I mean, they're not hiring a full-time person. So
Hmm.
I think we're moving towards fractional. I think more people are hearing what the word is and what it means and curious about it nonetheless.
Yeah, yeah. So for people who are new to this concept of fractional, because for the longest time we were using the terminology contract or consulting engagement, do you see any difference between fractional, consulting, contract work, or is fractional reserved for only specific type of working?
Okay. So the way I would define it is a contractor or a consultant brings more of, hey, this is what we want to accomplish, just work on that. And you work on that. I think fractional is we really want your breadth of knowledge to look at the entire department or company where we're at and bring us your expertise and you're more embedded into the organization. That's where I see the difference between those two. And then fractional. This is something I hear quite a bit that fractional is for C-level executives and directors. I don't. I don't buy that. I don't buy that because there are people who have never been in those roles who have their fractional business and they're kicking butt in what they're doing because they know what they know very well and they're offering those services in those areas. So I don't buy that you need to have worked in a C-level role in order to be a fractional leader. So those are the difference I see. And I think anyone can do fractional. If you're an expert, you know something very well, go offer your services. People will find your services of value.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for helping us understand the difference between these three typically used labels for non full time employment. Coming back to your lived experience, because you mentioned early on that you also take up fractional consulting work and you're building this community, what are you learning from balancing these two engagements together at the same time? Is it easy? Is it hard? Yeah, I would love to find out more from you because many of us will be in that state where you can't just focus on one initiative. You have to fill your plate with a variety of work that might come your way. So, how do we manage that effectively?
I think the beauty of fractional is being able to set up your terms up front. And in that case, it's having the flexibility to work when you're available to work, not unless you have something in your contract that you're going to be available from this time to that time, should you feel like obligated to be present for that time. But having the flexibility in your contracts and during the day, working on my business, the AI for HR community, and sprinkling in between in the evening and even the weekends for my fractional clients. So that's what I think is the beauty about fractional work. And also just making the time and putting it into your calendar
Yep,
is
yep.
important. But I think that's the beautiful part about fractional is the flexibility with your hours.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also want to add to this that, again, tools and technologies can be such a leverage for us in today's time. The more we know how to use AI, when to use AI, the more we can free up our time to do things, more things, and do them differently. And I'm not saying you delegate to AI right now because there's a lot of human involvement still involved. But we can definitely augment ourselves. Like to write a copy would take me, let's say, 3 days. Now I can work with AI, delegate the first draft to AI, and now I only need to spend 3 hours. So I free up my capacity to pick up more work that I feel excited about. So
Yes.
for those listening to your earlier point, Vanessa, being hands-on with AI is so critical for us in HR today. That will free up the capacity for us and increase our capability to do more.
And that's what we need to show off. And I say show off is because that's the way people will start looking at HR professionals differently. When they see that we can put together a system or an application in a matter of hours, right? They're like, "You do more than just hiring and firing." Yes, I do. Yes.
Yeah. So beyond, I'm going to park the AI community for a second and we'll come back to that because I do want to explore that piece with you. But because you've been so hands on with AI, what has been the most coolest project that you have worked on since, let's say, ChatGPT came into existence a couple of years or so ago?
Some cool ones. I mean, I have different spectrum, whereas some is app development and another one is just a simple GPT. A small but huge win with AI is creating a GPT specifically for the AI for HR community. Within the AI for HR community, we have a space that is AI tools that HR practitioners can use. And I wanted to ensure that the description of the tools was 100% relatable to the HR practice. And so I wanted to build out a description that stated what the tool is and the descriptions to pertain to how it is and how it could be applied to HR, why HR pros are loving it, and how to get signed up. I wanted all that description to really resonate with HR professionals. So I tweaked it so much to I finally got a result that I wanted. And then I said, okay, now build me a GPT. So anytime I put in simply the URL, you give me the output in this format with bold, bulleted, no emojis, and also include the logo of that tool, product, or
Mhm.
system. It worked. I tested it out with several different ones, and it was great because I got to pass this off to someone else on our team. And that's the thing. I'm just make it as efficient as possible, and now all they do is put in the URL. It's already in my tone, the way I think it should be for this community so that it resonates with them, and the logo's there. So someone else has been able to own that. I can imagine, "Hey, can you own this? But, I don't really like that, and, the tone, or you didn't bold that word, and, the logo is off." No, none of that. None of that. So, that was a GPT win. It's a small one, but the reason why I love it is because I was able to offset it where someone else owns it, and it's exactly what it's supposed to be, and I don't have to go back to double check, the person's work. It's phenomenal. And, the next one is with labor laws online.
Ooh,
So, as an HR practitioner, we have to be in compliance, and there's so many different things that we need to be in compliance with. But one of the quickest misses is federal, state, and local labor law notices. When we worked on site in buildings, in the lunchroom, there's a big poster that had all your state and federal laws that you need to, as an employer, present to your employees and have it easily available for them to view. With a lots of remote work happening, companies, and I've been at some myself, have failed to ensure that employees are aware or have at least acknowledged that they've seen the federal and state labor laws that pertain to them. This is a risk for the company, and I have spoken to HR practitioners that say, yeah, we've had people come back after they leave and sue us for not having had this information out and available for them. So I said, why isn't there just a platform that's labor laws online? And as an administrator, I could go in and say, I need labor laws for this state, this state, this state, this state, this state. It creates a portal that has all the state labor laws as well as the federal. And I could give a link or a QR code to the employees. And when they click on it, they acknowledge it. And I have my dashboard that says that they've acknowledged it and I'm covering my butt. So I went ahead and I built that out. It's It works, and that was one of my first vibe coding projects that I did, and I was literally jumping up and down. I was just so excited because I had had this on my mind for probably about 5 years.
wow.
And working with the designer off of Fiverr, working with the developer who wants to see your workflows, you click
Yeah.
here, it goes there, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, can't you just read what's in my head?"
Yeah.
They can't, but Lovable did.
Mhm.
Yes. And I just that makes me so happy where you could essentially just like word vomit everything in your mind, and then it just produces this eloquent like design and copy for a website and your back end. And
Yeah. I hear you. You don't even have to think about or worry about what words am I using. Like nobody's gonna get their backs up because of how I'm positioning what I have to say and whatnot. I'm not saying that we shouldn't do that, but when you are in that flow zone where you just want to get an output done, talking to AI is amazing because they get to what you really want versus how you said it. So the energy is not spent there.
how you said it or how you typed it out. So there's
Yeah,
some
even
I'm like,
wrong spellings are okay.
so I'm wondering if that's like a pitfall, right? And what I mean by that is someone had asked me to do a Google search for something, and I'm like, and they're, you spelled that wrong. I'm like, it already knows what I'm asking. And I'm like, there was a pause and I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm not even concerned like how my spelling is.
Yeah.
I wonder what's going to happen to my kids. They don't have to type, they don't have to spell. Like, what is going on here? So, those are some things that I do realize that's happening. And
Yeah, I know there's a lot of conversation about that, that sometimes AI is making us dumber and stupider. But I would say that same argument applied when we were first invented language and we moved from oral traditions to written
mm,
ways of communicating. And from, like when Google was first invented, we didn't have search engines. When cell phones were first invented, we didn't have to not remember telephone numbers. Like we needed to remember telephone numbers. But what I think, my take on this is that skills always have faded, which were not relevant, and new skills always emerged, which became more relevant. So I guess we are in that transition state where the old that we knew is fading away, but the new that will unpack or reveal itself is still fuzzy and not very clear. So that's why we probably have those second thoughts and we are thinking about, oh, should I not focus on that or should I focus on that? Because it's a very vague state to be in the mix of things when the end state of this change is not yet defined. We don't know where we're going with this. We are assuming there are many assumptions, both dystopian and utopian, but nobody knows really where we will net out in
I
the
love
long
that way you think about it. I love
run.
that. I appreciate that spin on it. I never thought about it like that. We don't know
Yeah.
where we're going. This is just the beginning. Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's what makes this such a exciting moment because yes, we can fear the ambiguity, we can fear the unknown, or we can lean in because there is no precedence set for it. It's not like we have to play in this space in using this playbook. There is no playbook. So there's nobody who's going to judge you for, you know, writing a wrong prompt in ChatGPT for the first time or your output not coming the way you were looking or expecting it to be. Keep iterating. Iteration is the rule of the game from my perspective.
Yes. I think that's the way for us to start and stay in the game and stay quote unquote ahead.
Right. That's right. All right. So coming back to your AI for HR community. So you said you just recently kicked it off and I hear all the buzz around it, both on LinkedIn and I am also a member of your community. So there's amazing conversations that are happening in the community already. And it's not been live for that long either. It's like, how
2
long
weeks.
has it? 2 weeks? Wow, it doesn't feel like it at all, Vanessa. It is like such a vibrant community with such amazing discussions happening. So, what's your vision for this AI and HR community over the next year? Where are you taking this community?
So we're currently in a pre-launch waitlist in parallel with the early access members that are on the platform that are helping us reiterate on the offerings and how our spaces within the community are set up. And I am just in awe. Every single morning, I log on to see how many people have joined our early access waitlist. And that's a paying community. Um, it, it just really reinforces that I'm not the only one, and I have not been the only one looking for that intersect of AI and HR. So, my dream and vision for this is ultimately to empower HR practitioners with AI, helping them feel comfortable with the basics and building them all the way up to they're doing their own applications. And you know what? Even if you're not doing your own applications and say you're in-house somewhere or you have your fractional work and you're helping your clients or your employer implement AI platforms out there, you know the questions to ask. You know what you're looking for. I'm excited. I think we should build everything. There's HR practitioners in our community who are building for their clients, but I do realize not everyone's going to want to build and they will buy products for HR to implement. And we should be knowledgeable in that. I want the people within this community to continue to be employed or to start their own business and be very successful. So that's the ultimate goal of that. And to bring people together, you could possibly find your next business partner within this community.
Yeah.
So that's my hope and that's my dream for the community. I know this one's a little far-fetched there, but and I'm putting it out there for the first time, but I would like to also open up this community to the Hispanic market. I would love to have the platform in Spanish and those conversations happening for the folks in Mexico or Latin America. That's yeah, that's my first time saying it out loud.
That is a beautiful vision. Love it. And I think it is so timely, relevant, and needed right now because people who are well versed with tech, they're already flying. And people who have not been that exposed to technology, like we were having the conversation earlier, they're trying to find their tribe so that they have that safe space to ask a question and not worry about, will it make me look like I don't know my shit? Did I say that loud? Uh, Uh, but that's where this is such a beautiful concept that you have. Do you think this idea also holds so much weight and this platform is getting so much engagement because, in many ways, other community platforms have not been able to give us what we were looking for, which is that intimate connection and authentic conversations with people who you want to connect with and learn from? Would that be a fair statement to make?
I would think so, and someone put that on our LinkedIn post. They said, "Oh, that's great, but not
Hmm.
unless you have engagement for minute 1 is it going to go anywhere." And that was probably about 2 months ago, and I screenshotted that post, and we have weekly founding advisor meetings. There's 15 of us right now, and I just reminded them, like, we've been working on this for some time. We're all in here because we believe it. But we have to remember this too. We're gonna fail if we don't engage from the first time, from the first moment, the first minute, as this person said. So that's why we've been really thoughtful with programs and membership experience. And I think that's what's going to make the difference. And right now, during our early access, it's really listening to what our early access members are saying and reiterate as soon as possible. I mean, from day one that we opened up, I got feedback. Hey, you need to fix this, or we need to do that, as well as like, this isn't too clear. And I said, okay, well, what do you think? Okay, that's great. And then I just put out a poll and for our community to, and from there we decide, okay, 90% in this one poll I pulled out said that this would work better. So right away we iterate and change. And that's the way to go. Just listen to your community and move. So I think not I think I know we're different.
Hmm.
And we're different because of the way we've built this out and because of the founding advisors who have believed in this from the very beginning and who are offering their time and their resources to help build this out. And it is a community because not one person could build a community. I will tell you that so many people in this founding advisor team bring up things that I have no clue about.
Hmm.
And that's what's important is to have, and someone told me this one time, they're like, you don't need to know how, you need to know who.
Yeah.
And so I feel so blessed to be surrounded by the people who know those different aspects of the business that I don't.
Yeah, beautifully said. I think this is where the community becomes the big brain that we need to solve modern day challenges and problems because there's no one person who knows it all. So amazing. And I also love the fact that when you're in a community like yours, which is intimate, which is very authentic, and you can lean on each other, you don't have to worry about the algorithm because in other platforms, sometimes to find the right people to have authentic conversations, you have to navigate how algorithm spins up your content or connects you to people and whatnot, which I think diffuses the purpose of that community feel. So I'm really happy to hear your vision, your aspiration about this community, such a needed community, especially for HR people, talking about AI, which I also want to clarify, it's not for people who understand HR tech. Yes, you and I have tech background, but AI is not only for people who can speak and understand tech. That is the beauty of Chat GPT being launched as a chat where you can just have a natural conversation with it.
Yes. Yes, 100%. And you had me think about our community. It's really a safe space for HR practitioners. That's really one of our big requirements is that you must be or have worked as an HR practitioner. 100%. Not sold HR tech,
Yeah, nice.
been
That's good.
an HR practitioner. Now that we have these pre-launch waitlist is open, I will say there are a handful of individuals who are not HR practitioners but want in on the community. And it's so exciting for us to have, these paying customers, but it's one of these things that we need to stick true to the values of this organization.
So will you say no to them?
At this time, it is a no because that's exactly what we're built upon. But in the future, we want to offer master classes. And those are going to be open to everyone to take master classes because you won't necessarily be on the community platform. We want to keep that community platform 100% HR practitioners.
Amazing. Beautiful, because you don't want people coming in also just to observe, collect data and information and
Yeah.
not contribute back to the community. Very brave and courageous,
Yeah.
Vanessa. I'm
Someone
loving what you're doing.
Someone also said, well, why don't we let vendors give them access to our platform for some time so that they could see what it is and possibly become a sponsor or a partner? And I said, that's not going to happen. We are not going to have vendors as members on our platform. They may do a deep dive demonstration live and we could put the recording on the platform, but it's a vendor free platform as well.
Beautiful. All right. So before we wrap up our conversation today, one last question. So, from your perspective and your lived experiences, if you have to give one piece of advice to HR professionals who are feeling stuck or are in early career, what would that be in relation to AI in HR?
I feel like it's a little biased.
Yes, join the community for sure.
Yes. And it's really, this is something that was created because I was in that place. I was in the space as an HR practitioner and like, what do I do next? And how do I find the people to support me on that journey? It was created exactly for the person in that scenario that you described. We will go further, faster, and with better quality when we do it together. And that's what I really really believe. And even if it's not joining our community, find someone in HR who's diving into it so you can start learning and working together. It's really for the sake of not just your knowledge of using AI, because you could use it in so many different parts of your life, but specifically to your career in HR, you need to start diving into it one way or another.
That's right. That's right. And if not now, then when? Because change is already here and it's better that we drive it than be driven by it.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Vanessa, thank you so much for your time today and sharing your lived experience and journey, which is very inspiring. And I think a lot of us can draw inspiration from your journey and your lived experience and be brave and courageous in these changing times. So, thank you. Thank you again for your time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you tremendously for having me here today.
And that was my conversation with Vanessa. Her journey reminds us that HR doesn't have to wait for change, we can build it. Follow Vanessa and the AI for HR community to keep learning and experimenting. I'll drop the links to both in the description of this YouTube video. And I will leave you with this question. What's one experiment that you can try this month to reimagine your role with AI? Thanks for tuning into Tides. See you next time.